The Veth did not believe in luck. They believed in math. Every battle, every war, every decision was a math problem. You put in the numbers. You ran the calculations. You got the answer. The answer was always correct. The Veth had never lost a war. Not once in 10,000 years. Other species called them the greatest strategists in the galaxy. The Veth agreed. It was not pride. It was math. The Krell Empire declared war on the Veth Federation in the spring. The Krell were bigger, stronger, faster. They had more ships and more soldiers and more weapons. By any normal math, the Krell should have won. But the Veth did not use normal math. They used probability engines. Machines that could see the future with 99.9% accuracy. The engines told the Veth exactly what the Krell would do, exactly when they would do it, exactly how to stop them. The Veth spent 3 years building the perfect plan. They studied every Krell commander, every Krell ship, every Krell weakness. They ran 1,000,000 simulations. In every single one, the Veth won. The final part of the plan was a trap. The Veth lured the Krell fleet into an empty star system called the Hollow. There were no planets, no moons, no asteroids, nothing to hide behind, nothing to escape through. The system had only one way in and one way out. The Veth waited until the entire Krell fleet was inside. Then they closed the door. A wall of Veth warships blocked the only exit. The Krell were surrounded. No escape routes. No reinforcements. No hope. The Veth commander was an old strategist named Quorix. He had won 17 wars. He had never lost a single battle. He stood on the bridge of his flagship and looked at his display. The Krell fleet was trapped. Perfectly trapped. The plan had worked perfectly. Quorix raised his 4 hands to give the final order. Attack! Destroy! End the war. Then something unexpected happened. A single ship appeared on his display. It was small, old, ugly. It had no weapons. It had no shields. It had no business being in a war zone. The ship's identification tag marked it as human. Quorix stared at the display. His probability engines flickered. Humans? Here! That was impossible. Humans were a minor species from an unimportant system. They had no stake in the war. They had no reason to be in the Hollow. They had not been in any of the simulations. Quorix had planned for every variable, every Krell trick, every Krell countermove. He had not planned for humans. Why would he? Humans were nothing. Humans were nobody. Humans did not matter. The human ship broadcast a message on all frequencies. A woman's voice. Friendly. Cheerful. Completely unaware that she was flying into the middle of the largest battle in 100 years. Hello, everyone. This is the human cargo ship Good Luck. We are looking for a lost mining vessel called the Deep Digger. It is blue. It has 3 engines. It went missing 3 days ago. Has anyone seen it? Please respond. Quorix could not believe what he was hearing. A lost mining ship. In the middle of a war. At the most important moment of the most important battle. He sent a message back. Human ship. You have entered an active war zone. Leave immediately. This is your only warning. The human ship did not leave. It continued drifting toward the center of the battle zone. Its sensors were scanning for the lost mining ship. Its crew was not paying attention to the war. Almost got a signal, the human woman said. Just a little closer. Quorix watched in disbelief as the small human cargo ship floated between the 2 fleets. It was directly in the line of fire. If the Veth attacked, they would hit the humans. If the Krell attacked, they would also hit the humans. Neither side could fire. The Veth had the perfect trap, the perfect weapons, the perfect plan, but they could not use any of it, because a single unarmed human cargo ship was in the way. Quorix ran a new simulation. What happened if the Veth fired anyway? The humans would die. Then other humans would get angry. Then the human race would join the war. The simulation showed chaos. Total chaos. The Veth had never fought humans before. Their probability engines could not predict human behavior. Humans were too illogical, too emotional, too stupid. The simulation crashed. Quorix stared at the screen. His perfect plan was falling apart. Not because of the Krell. Not because of a mistake. Because of a lost mining ship and a human who would not leave. On the other side of the battle zone, the Krell commander was having the same problem. He could not fire without killing humans. And he had heard the stories. Humans held grudges. Humans did not forget. Humans would chase you across the galaxy for revenge. The Krell commander also chose not to fire. The 2 fleets sat in empty space. Thousands of warships. Millions of soldiers. All of them waiting. All of them unable to move. All of them stopped by one small human cargo ship. The human woman spoke again. Found it. The deep digger is on the other side of the system. We are going to go get it. Thanks for your help, everyone. Bye. The human ship turned and flew away. It disappeared into the dark. The battle zone was empty again. The Veth could finally attack. The perfect plan could finally continue. But something had changed. The Krell had seen the Veth hesitate. The Veth had seen the Krell hesitate. Both sides had chosen not to fire. Both sides had chosen not to kill humans. The war would never be the same. Quirix looked at his display. The trap was still perfect. The weapons were still ready. The plan was still sound. But he did not give the order. He could not explain why. The math said attack. The probability engines said attack. Every simulation said attack. But the math did not know about the human woman. The probability engines did not know about her cheerful voice. The simulations did not know about the lost mining ship called the Deep Digger. Quirix put his hands down. Stand down, he said. We wait. His officers stared at him. No one had ever heard Quirix say wait. Quirix attacked. Quirix won. Quirix never waited. But Quirix had never met humans before. And something told him that the perfect plan was not so perfect anymore. The battle was ready to begin. Thousands of Veth warships faced thousands of Krell warships. The empty star system called the Hollow had never seen so much firepower. Weapons were charged. Shields were up. The only thing missing was the order to attack. Then a small ship flew into the middle of everything. It was old. The paint was peeling. One of its engines made a strange noise. It had no weapons. It had no shields worth mentioning. It looked like it should have been scrapped 10 years ago. Both fleets stopped. Thousands of alien soldiers stared at their displays. What was this? A trick? A new weapon? A surrender? The ship broadcast a message on all frequencies. A human woman's voice. Friendly. Casual. Like she was calling a neighbor. Hello, everyone. This is the human cargo ship Good Luck. We are looking for a lost mining vessel called the Deep Digger. It is blue. It has 3 engines. It went missing 3 days ago. Has anyone seen it? Please respond. The Veth commander, Quirix, stared at his display. His 4 hands hung in the air. His probability engines made a confused noise. A lost mining ship. In the middle of the largest battle in 100 years. Humans were asking about a lost mining ship. He sent a message back. His voice was cold. Human ship. You have entered an active war zone. Leave immediately. This is your only warning. The human ship did not leave. It continued drifting forward. Its sensors were scanning left and right. Its crew was talking to each other about the Deep Digger. Almost got a signal, the woman said. Just a little closer. Quirix sent another message. Leave now or we will open fire. The woman laughed. It was a friendly laugh. Not mean. Not scared. Just a person laughing at a silly situation. You would not shoot an unarmed cargo ship full of civilians, she said. That would be against the rules of war. You signed the rules. We did not. But you did. So you cannot shoot us. Quirix had no answer for that. She was right. The Veth had signed the rules of war. The rules said you could not fire on unarmed civilian ships. The humans had never signed. But the Veth had. And the Veth followed rules. The human ship kept moving. It drifted between the 2 fleets. Directly in the middle. Directly in the line of fire. If the Veth shot at the Krell, they would hit the human ship. If the Krell shot at the Veth, they would also hit the human ship. Neither side could fire. Quirix tried to ignore the human ship. He focused on the Krell fleet. He gave orders to reposition his ships. New angles. New firing lines. Maybe he could shoot around the human ship. But the human ship moved. Every time the Veth ships adjusted, the human ship adjusted too. It was not doing it on purpose. It was just scanning for the Deep Digger. Following sensor signals. Drifting where the wind took it. But the effect was the same. The human ship was blocking everything. Quirix watched his perfect plan crack. He had spent 3 years building this trap. Every detail. Every angle. Every possible Krell move. He had run 1,000,000 simulations. In every one, the Veth won. None of the simulations had a human cargo ship in the middle. He tried a different approach. He sent a friendly message. Human ship. We will help you find your lost mining vessel after the battle. Please leave now and we will search the entire system for you. The woman thought about this. How do I know you will keep your promise? She asked. Quarix was shocked. No one had ever asked him that. The Veth always kept their promises. It was logical. It was efficient. It was the rules. We are Veth, he said. We do not lie. The woman laughed again. Every species says that. The Krell say it too. Someone is lying. She kept scanning. The human ship kept drifting. The battle kept not happening. On the other side of the system, the Krell commander was having the same problem. He could not fire without hitting the humans. He had heard stories about humans. They held grudges. They chased enemies across the galaxy. They once fought a war over a sport called football. The Krell commander decided not to risk it. Hours passed. The human ship continued its search. It flew close to Veth ships. The Veth soldiers waved. It flew close to Krell ships. The Krell soldiers also waved. The human crew waved back. They offered snacks to anyone who wanted them. By the end of the day, something strange had happened. Veth and Krell soldiers were talking to each other. Not fighting. Talking. About the humans. About the deep digger. About whether the mining ship would ever be found. The perfect plan was not just cracked. It was broken. Quarix sat on his bridge. His probability engines had stopped working. They could not calculate anything anymore. Too many variables. Too many humans. Too much chaos. He looked at the display. The human ship was still there. Still searching. Still blocking his shots. Still being friendly to everyone. He had planned for every variable. Every trick. Every trap. He had not planned for a lost mining ship. He had not planned for a woman who laughed at warnings. He had not planned for snacks. The war would not end today. The perfect trap would not close. The Veth would not win. Because of a blue ship with 3 engines and a crew that refused to leave. Quarix closed his eyes. He had never lost a battle. He had never even come close. But today, he had lost to a species that did not know the rules and did not care about his plans. He opened his eyes. The human ship was still there. Still scanning. Still smiling. Continue searching, Quarix told his officers. We wait. No one argued. There was nothing else to do. The first human cargo ship was bad enough. Then more came. It started with a rescue ship. Small. White. Covered in red crosses. It flew straight into the battle zone without asking permission. Its lights were flashing. Its crew was shouting over the radio. We have wounded. Veth and Krell. We are picking up everyone. Do not shoot. We are medical. The Veth watched in disbelief as the rescue ship pulled wounded pilots from both fleets. Veth pilots. Krell pilots. It did not matter to the humans. Wounded was wounded. They put them in the same medical bay. Enemies lying next to each other. Sharing bandages. Sharing pain. Then a mining ship arrived. Big. Ugly. Covered in drilling equipment. It had no weapons. But it had very strong shields. The mining ship positioned itself between the 2 fleets. Right in the middle of the firing line. We are not leaving until our sister ship finds the deep digger, the captain said. Shoot through us if you want. But we are very heavy. It will take a lot of shots. No one shot. Then a medical ship arrived. Then another rescue ship. Then a small transport full of engineers who wanted to help repair damaged ships. Then a science vessel that wanted to study the unique battlefield conditions. Then the tourists came. A small cruise ship called the Star Seeker appeared on the edge of the system. It was painted bright colors. It had a swimming pool on the top deck. It was full of humans on vacation who had heard about the battle and wanted to see it. This is the Star Seeker, said a cheerful human voice. We have 57 civilians on board. We mean no harm. We just want to watch. Can we get closer? The view from here is not great. Quarix put his head in his hands. Tourists. The Veth had planned for every military variable. Every Krell trick. Every possible counter-move. They had not planned for tourists. No, he said. You cannot get closer. Stay where you are. Better yet, leave. The cruise ship did not leave. It moved closer. Slowly. Carefully. Like a person sneaking toward a good seat at a show. Just a little closer, the captain said. The passengers paid good money for this. The human ships spread out across the battle zone. They were everywhere. Between the fleets. Behind the fleets. Above the fleets. Below the fleets. There was no safe direction to fire. Every shot would hit a human ship. The humans did not take sides. They rescued Veth pilots. They rescued Krell pilots. They offered medical help to anyone who needed it. They shared food and water. They told bad jokes. They broadcast music on all frequencies. The music was terrible. Human music from a time called the 1980s. Loud drums. Screaming voices. Songs about love and cars and something called a rock and roll. The Krell had never heard anything like it. The Veth had never heard anything like it. Both species agreed on one thing. The music was awful. But it was also impossible to ignore. By the second day, something strange started happening. Veth soldiers were tapping their feet to the music. Krell soldiers were humming the melodies. Neither side wanted to admit it. But the music was stuck in their heads. A young Veth officer approached Quarix. "Commander, the humans on the cruise ship are waving at us. What should we do?" Quarix stared at the officer. "Waving?" "Yes, sir. They are standing on the top deck, next to the swimming pool. They are waving small flags. Some of them are holding signs." "What do the signs say?" The officer hesitated. "One says go Veth. Another says go Krell. A third says we just want everyone to get along." Quarix said nothing. He had no words left. On the Krell side, the same thing was happening. Krell soldiers were watching the human tourists. The tourists were taking pictures, eating food, laughing, having a wonderful time. The Krell commander sent a message to Quarix. A private message. Not about the war. About the humans. "What do we do?" the Krell commander asked. Quarix answered honestly. "I do not know." The two commanders had been enemies for years. They had never spoken directly. Now they were talking about human tourists and terrible music. The perfect trap was gone. The perfect plan was dead. The perfect weapons were useless. The battle zone had become a circus. Human rescue ships continued pulling wounded from both sides. Human medical ships continued treating everyone equally. Human mining ships continued blocking firing lines. Human tourists continued waving flags and taking pictures. The war had stopped. Not because of a treaty. Not because of a surrender. Because of humans who refused to leave and music that would not stop. On the third day, the human cargo ship Good Luck finally found what it was looking for. The Deep Digger. The lost mining vessel. It was on the far side of the system. Drifting. Dead engines. But the crew was alive. They had been hiding in the cargo bay for 3 days. "Found them," the woman's voice announced. "We are going to tow them out of here. Thanks for your patience, everyone. Sorry for the trouble." The Good Luck turned and flew away. The other human ships began to follow. The rescue ships. The medical ships. The mining ships. Even the cruise ship full of tourists. "Goodbye, everyone," the tourist captain said. "We had a wonderful time. Please visit Earth someday. Bring snacks." One by one, the human ships disappeared. The battle zone was empty again. Only the Veth and the Krell remained. Thousands of warships. Millions of soldiers. No humans in the way. Quarix looked at his display. The Krell fleet was still trapped. The perfect plan was still possible. He could give the order. Attack! Destroy! End the war. But he did not. Something had changed. The Veth soldiers had waved back at the tourists. The Krell soldiers had hummed the terrible music. The wounded pilots from both sides had shared bandages and water. The war did not seem so important anymore. Quarix closed his eyes. "Stand down," he said. "All ships. Stand down." No one argued. The Veth commander had enough. 3 days. 3 days of human ships floating everywhere. 3 days of terrible music. 3 days of tourists waving flags. 3 days of no battle, no victory, no end to the war. Quarix stood on the bridge of his flagship. His 4 hands were clenched. His probability engines had been silent for days. They had nothing to calculate anymore. The humans had broken math itself. He opened a channel to every human ship in the system. His voice was cold, loud, final. "Human ships, this is your final warning. Leave this system immediately. You have 1 hour. After that, we will open fire. We do not want to hurt you. But you are interfering with a military operation. Leave now." The channel went silent. Quarix waited. 1 minute passed. 2 minutes. 5 minutes. Then the human response came. Not from the cargo ship. Not from the rescue ships. From the cruise ship. The one with the swimming pool and the tourists. A human woman appeared on the screen. She was wearing a bright yellow shirt and sunglasses. She had a drink in her hand. A small umbrella floated in the drink. She smiled. "Make us." Quarix stared. "What?" "Make us leave," the woman said. "You have weapons. We do not. You have warships. We have a cruise ship with a broken ice machine. So go ahead. Make us leave. Shoot us. Blow us up. See what happens. She took a sip of her drink. But let me tell you what will happen. You will kill 57 innocent tourists. And then every human in the galaxy will know your name. Every human will hate your species. Every human will want revenge. And we are very good at revenge. We once chased a single enemy across 4 galaxies. We held a grudge for 3,000 years over a stolen cow. A cow, Commander. Do you know what a cow is? Quirix did not know what a cow was. But he understood the message. Do not hurt humans. Humans do not forget. Humans do not forgive. Humans will find you. He closed the channel. His hands were shaking. On the other side of the system, the Krell commander made the same demand. He sent a message to every human ship. Leave or we will fire. The humans gave the same answer. Make us. The Krell commander also chose not to fire. He had heard the stories too. The stolen cow. The 4 galaxies. The 3,000 years. He did not know if the stories were true. But he was not willing to find out. The war came to a complete stop. Both fleets sat in empty space. Unable to fight. Unable to leave. Unable to do anything. Thousands of warships. Millions of soldiers. All of them stuck because of a few hundred humans who refused to move. The humans continued their work. Rescue ships pulled wounded pilots from damaged ships. Medical ships treated everyone equally. Veth and Krell lay in the same beds. Enemies sharing bandages. Enemies sharing pain. At first, the wounded soldiers did not talk to each other. They turned their faces away. They pretended the other did not exist. The war had taught them to hate. Hate was easy. Hate was safe. But the humans kept putting them together. There were not enough beds. Not enough space. The Veth and Krell had no choice. They had to share. On the second day, a Veth pilot ran out of water. The Krell pilot in the next bed had extra. He did not want to share. His species had taught him to hate the Veth. But the human nurse kept looking at him. Her eyes were tired. Her hands were bloody. She had been working for 30 hours straight. Please, she said. He is thirsty. He is just a person. Like you. The Krell pilot gave the Veth pilot his water. The Veth pilot said thank you. The Krell pilot said you are welcome. It was the first conversation between enemies in 3 years. On the third day, something impossible happened. A human rescue worker was treating a group of wounded soldiers. 5 Veth. 4 Krell. All of them in pain. All of them scared. The human looked at them and shrugged. Hey, he said. Why did the spaceship cross the road? The soldiers stared at him. No one answered. To get to the other side. The human laughed at his own joke. It was a terrible joke. The worst joke any of them had ever heard. But something happened. A Veth pilot laughed. Not because the joke was funny. Because laughing felt better than crying. Because laughing was easier than hating. Because laughing reminded him that he was still alive. Then a Krell pilot laughed. Then another Veth. Then another Krell. Soon, all 9 soldiers were laughing. Enemies laughing together. Sharing a terrible joke in a crowded medical bay. The human rescue worker smiled. See? Not so different. All of you. Just people who got shot and want to go home. The laughter spread. From the medical bay to the rescue ships. From the rescue ships to the cruise ship. From the cruise ship to the tourists, who told the joke to everyone they met. By the end of the third day, Veth and Krell soldiers were talking to each other. Not fighting. Not planning. Just talking. About home. About family. About the weather. About whether the human joke was the worst thing they had ever heard. Quirix watched all of this from his flagship. His probability engines remained silent. They could not calculate laughter. They could not calculate kindness. They could not calculate a terrible joke that made enemies into friends. He opened a channel to the Krell commander. We cannot fight, he said. Not like this. Not anymore. The Krell commander agreed. I know. The humans have broken something. I do not know what. But we cannot fix it. The 2 commanders sat in silence. On their displays, human rescue ships continued their work. Human medical ships continued healing everyone. Human tourists continued waving flags and taking pictures. The war was over. Not because someone won. Not because someone lost. Because a human told a terrible joke and enemies laughed together. Quirix closed his eyes. He had spent 3 years planning the perfect trap. He had built the perfect weapons. He had created the perfect strategy. He had forgotten one thing. Wars are fought by people. And people get tired of fighting. People want to laugh. People want to go home. The humans had reminded everyone of that. Not with weapons. Not with threats. With a bad joke and a willingness to stay. Quirix opened his eyes. He gave the order. All ships. Stand down. The war is over. No one argued. No one wanted to. The invitation arrived on a small piece of paper. Not a formal message. Not a diplomatic request. Just a handwritten note on a napkin. It said, "Come talk. Bring nothing. We have coffee." The Veth commander, Quirix, read the napkin 3 times. His probability engines had nothing to say. There was no calculation for a meeting on a human cargo ship with no weapons and no guards. The Krell commander, Vorak, received the same napkin. He also read it 3 times. He also had no idea what to do. Both of them went. The human cargo ship was called the Good Luck. It was old. It smelled like engine oil and old food. The walls were covered in pictures of human families and strange earth animals. A cat slept on a chair. No one moved it. The human captain was named Alara. She was young. Maybe 30 years old. Her face was dirty. Her hands were rough. She was eating a sandwich while she worked. She did not stand up when the commanders arrived. She did not salute. She did not bow. She pointed at 2 plastic chairs. "Sit." Quirix and Vorak Saturday. They looked at each other across a small folding table. For 3 years, they had been enemies. For 3 years, they had tried to kill each other. Now they were sitting on plastic chairs, drinking brown liquid from chipped cups, and staring at nothing. Ilara finished her sandwich. She wiped her mouth on her sleeve. She looked at the 2 commanders. "You both have the same problem," she said. Quirix raised his eyebrows. Vorak tilted his head. "You planned a perfect war," Ilara said. "Every detail. Every move. Every weapon. You spent years on the plan. You ran 1,000,000 simulations. You thought about everything." She paused. She took a sip of her coffee. She made a face. "It was too hot. But you forgot one thing," she said. "Wars are fought by people. Not by ships. Not by weapons. Not by probability engines. By people. People get tired. People get hungry. People get lonely. People get scared. People do not want to die for politicians who sit safely on their home worlds and give speeches about honor." Quirix opened his mouth to argue. Then he closed it. She was right. His soldiers were tired. They had been fighting for 3 years. They wanted to go home. They wanted to see their families. They wanted to sleep without dreaming of explosions. Vorak felt the same. His soldiers were also tired. Also hungry. Also lonely. Also scared. They had joined the war because their leaders told them to. Now they just wanted it to be over. Ilara stood up. She walked to a small kitchen area. She made 2 more cups of coffee. She brought them back. She sat down again. "I am not a diplomat," she said. "I am not a soldier. I am not a politician. I am a cargo ship captain who lost her way and found a war. And I have one question for both of you." She looked at Quirix. Then at Vorak. "Why are you fighting?" Quirix answered first. "Because the Krell attacked us. They wanted our territory. Our resources. Our worlds." Vorak answered second. "Because the Veth insulted our honor. They called us barbarians. They said we were not worthy of respect." Ilara nodded. She thought about this for a moment. "Let me tell you something about humans," she said. "We have fought more wars than any species in the galaxy. We have killed each other over land. Over religion. Over the color of our skin. Over stupid things that do not matter. And you know what we learned?" Quirix and Vorak waited. "We learned that the reasons for war are always lies," Ilara said. "Always. Every war. Every fight. Every battle. The leaders tell you it is about honor or territory or resources. But it is never about those things. It is about fear. Fear of the other. Fear of the unknown. Fear that if you do not kill them first, they will kill you." She pointed at Quirix. "You did not attack the Krell because they were a threat. You attacked them because you were afraid." She pointed at Vorak. "You did not attack the Veth because they insulted your honor. You attacked them because you were afraid." Both commanders wanted to argue. Both commanders could not. Because she was right. Ilara leaned back in her chair. The cat jumped onto her lap. She scratched its ears. "I am not going to give you a speech about peace," she said. "I am not going to tell you to hold hands and sing songs. I am just going to tell you the truth. Your soldiers do not want to fight anymore. Your people do not want to die anymore. And you, sitting here on this ugly cargo ship, drinking this terrible coffee, you do not want to fight anymore either. Quorix looked at Vorak. Vorak looked back. Neither one wanted to fight. They were tired. They were hungry. They were lonely. They wanted to go home. The war ended that day. Not with a treaty. Not with a surrender. Not with speeches or ceremonies or signed documents. It ended with a sandwich and a bad joke and a human who refused to leave. The Veth fleet went home. The Krell fleet went home. The human ships also went home. The Good Luck was the last to leave. Ilara stood at the airlock and looked back at the empty star system. The hollow, where war had almost happened. She smiled. Not today, she said. Maybe never. The door closed. The ship left. Months later, the Veth went back to their probability engines. They ran the numbers again. Every calculation said the war should have happened. Every calculation said thousands should have died. Every calculation said the Veth would have won. Every calculation was wrong. Because the calculations did not include humans. They never did. Humans did not fit into any equation. Humans did not follow any rules. Humans showed up where they were not invited and refused to leave and told bad jokes and shared sandwiches and broke everything. Quorix looked at the numbers. He closed the probability engine. He would never open it again. Some things could not be calculated. Some things could only be witnessed. And somewhere, on a small blue planet called Earth, a cargo ship captain named Ilara sat on her porch. She watched the sunset. She drank good coffee. She smiled. The war that never happened was the best war of all.